Christy. Welcome. Welcome to the Hanover branch of the Pamunkey Regional Library. Today we're going to be making some parachutes in the style that Leonardo da Vinci came up with hundreds of years ago. And we're also going to make another one out of a plastic bag that we came up with. Miss Terry, to be precise, she came up with a super good flying one that flies really well. So let me just give you a quick view of what I'm talking about so you can know what to expect. This is the prototype that Leonardo da Vinci came up with. As you can see, it's like a pyramid. It gets a little beat up when it flies, but it's got flaws from each of the four corners. And we're gonna put it way up here and see if it'll fly straight. It's actually better to hold it like this. I keep forgetting, and we let it go. If it didn't bump into me, it would have just went straight. And this is the second prototype, the one that Miss Terry came up with. Now this one really flies neat. You can adjust these and make your action figures come in to your play. See? Okay, so let's get started on making these parachutes. Okay, so here we are. I just wanted to show you that this book is about Leonardo da Vinci, and it has tons of inventions that he made in here. And that's where we got the idea for this and the invisible ink that we'll do later. There are also a lot of other books. He was he made so many experiments, and he was a great painter. He painted the Mona Lisa. He painted the Last Supper. He was employed as an architect by the King of France and the chief painter. He loved horses. He loved them a lot. This book, he loved to draw horses too. So there's a lot you can learn about him, but today we're just gonna try and make this parachute. Now when you get your kit, it will look like this. You can come by the Hanover branch and pick it up, and you're gonna get 4 of these pieces of paper in your kit, and they'll be marked saying top. So that's what you're going to get. You're going to get some instructions. You're going to get a washer for a weight and a clothespin, and the pink ones will only be for girls. And you will get a instruction sheet about invisible ink, and you will get the plastic bag to make the plastic bag parachute that we came up with. Miss Terry came up with that. If you know Miss Terry, she just put it together. She learned a lot from this little one that we're going to do first. So you'll get these, you'll get this. And when you cut it out, you want to just go right on the middle of the dotted lines. This is going to be very hard to make them line up exactly, but that's okay. I'll show you what I did. And if it gets a little overlapped and gets a little curly, I think that actually helps the parachute some. You just want to be careful to cut it as straight as you can. But we do know it's just not going to be perfectly aligned, and that's okay. I'm going to show you how to deal with that. So you will color and cut these out. You can color them however you want. And I've already taped 2 together. And if you see, they look like they're perfectly straight. But if you look up close, there's a couple places where they just don't touch, and that's okay. That's okay. We just have to line it up the best we can with the point in the middle. The middle point here has to be lined up. So we just very carefully line these points up, the top and the bottom, as best we can. And then we're really careful, don't move it when you're getting ready to tape. Get your tape. You will need tape. Your instructions will tell you everything you need. You're gonna need tape, scissors, and a ruler, maybe, if you're doing 2 of these. So when you have it exactly lined up, stick your tape on. And hopefully it will stay. Yes, it's still lined up pretty well. It's hard, that's hard to line them up. So then you're gonna come back and tape the top part that you didn't tape. And then you're gonna come back and tape this little bottom part that didn't get any tape. Now this is a little uneven, but that's okay. It doesn't have to be exactly perfect. As perfect as you can get it, but it doesn't have to be exact. And then you'll just tuck this under, and you can use your scissors to cut this little piece of tape that's sticking out. We don't want it to hamper the way that the parachute flies. So we'll very carefully put that extra tape over here. Now, this is the tricky part. We have to tape it, the last one. We'll go ahead and tape that last one on there. This one looks like it's lining up really well. We just have to hold it there. And get our tape. Not too long. And then plop it down right in the middle. It pulled it apart a bit, but that's okay. Like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect because these are gonna, this is gonna become a 3D pyramid. Not a pyramid, but a, well, kind of like a pyramid. And see how it curved a little? I think that will help it fly. And then we're gonna cut again our extra pieces of tape. They may stick to your scissors, so be careful. Don't cut yourself on your scissors. If you need an adult's help, that is perfectly fine. So, now let's see what we have. We have this. Okay. So do you know what we have to do? Yes, we have to tape it like this. Now that's tricky, isn't it? So what I did, oh, we forgot to tape the top. I thought that was too easy. So we taped the top of this last one. Now, when I did it, I was very careful to bend these pieces. The ones with a lot of tape might be hard, but you bend these, and you can bend this one, and you can see it's ready to go. Now, you can also do this. And remember how we drop our tape down? So we've got it pretty even. Drop our tape down in the middle, and we hope it didn't stick through, and it didn't. So, and it's a little curved. If you're doing yours, you'll see what I mean about a little curve. See how it's a little rounded there? All right, so let's get our bottom taped. And our top. And we're just gonna put this piece right over here and cut our extra off again. Don't worry if you can't follow along. and make this at the same time I do, it's okay because you're going to have instructions. Now look what we have. We have a pyramid. We have just like what Da Vinci said. This is what his diagrams were looking like when he made his notebooks hundreds of years ago. So, what comes next, you ask? Well, in your kit, you'll have some floss. If you're making this one first, you won't have to cut any floss. But if you do need to cut it because you may make your plastic one first, then you're going to cut a little over the size of a ruler, just a little bit over. Try to make them the same size. Basically, it doesn't have to be exact. So you're going to have 4 12 to 14 inch pieces of floss. You will have 4 included in your kit. It just depends on which one you make first as to which ones you will use your floss for. So we're going to turn this so that we can tape the floss on. We're getting somewhere. We're going to make our pyramid fly. I hope it works. So tape one on, turn, get your tape. Tape number 2 on, right in the middle. If you see, they're right in the middle of each corner. Okay, can you see? So we go and we do that for every corner. I like to grab my tape, stick it down, and tape it down. Not too far up, maybe like a little less than an inch tape to it. That way your tape, there. So now we have our 4 edges taped, floss to them. So now, what do you think we need now? You knew it. We need our weight. Now, in each kit, you'll get one of these washers. And what I found after working with it a while is that if you take each piece of floss and gather it up and hold it together, it might be easier to tie it onto the washer rather than to try and tie each one separately, because it's kind of tricky. And remember, if you need an adult's help, that's okay. When they get a minute, they'll be glad to help you. I know they will. So I kind of like twist this together, and then I take my washer, stick it over it, and start to tie the knot. Make sure all of your pieces are in there. Did we get them all? Yeah, we did. See? All right. Let's see how ours works. I'm gonna drop it from up here and see how it falls down. Whoops. Let's try that again. There. Okay. Now that would work better if we were up higher. And that reminds me, you want to let these go from up high. Now this one might be a little uneven, so that might be why it didn't fly too well. So anyway, it takes a lot of practice to continually get those to work. If one part of your floss is too long, it may go a little sideways like that one did. But we saw how the other one went, and it's good to come from, if you have a balcony at your house. You can let it go there. People are like, what's that? So it's fun. Now this is the one that we know works really well. This is a piece of plastic bag that's included in your kit. And all we have to do for this one is do our floss. We're going to need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for this one. This one is different because it is a different size. This is more aerodynamic, I think is the word for it. It's not how Da Vinci did his, but that's okay. It's just how we're gonna try to make one that flies even longer and will go through the wind and not flip upside down just because one little part is not perfect. So this is fun. And you remember, you can put your action figures on these. If you make it a little bit bigger, you'll need a bigger weight, so you could put that. You can cut these out. All that we did to cut these out was add an extra side to the pyramid before we taped it up into the 3D shape that we saw. So we have our floss cut, and we're just going to tape it down. That's how easy it is. Now you can decorate your plastic bag if you want. That's up to you. If you want to, I'm sure it will work fine. You could use a white plastic bag so that your markers would show up better, but remember, it's going to have to dry for quite some time because it's hard for marker to dry on plastic bags. But yeah, this one is, I like this one a lot because it's really fun. You can kind of toss it up and it will fly. It's a fun one. We have to all thank Miss Terry for coming up with this. When you come in, Miss Terry, I love your parachute. You have to tell her. She'll be so happy. So we've got all 4. And I'll show you a different way that you can do this without using a washer. It might be easier with this one because so many pieces of floss to tape together. To tie together onto the washer. So you kind of twist them, and then we're going to go in our kit, and we're going to get clothespin. And we're just going to clothespin it right on there. And if you're making these at home, a bigger size, your mom might have some clothespins. Okay, I'm going to stand up, and we're going to see how this one goes. Let's see if it works. Did you see it? It went a long way. Let's try it one more time and see. I'm gonna get over some. Yay! Yeah, this kind is really fun. So you'll get a sample in your kit, and you can do either one or both, and you can just practice doing both. Can be like Leonardo da Vinci. So now another project that Leonardo da Vinci did, he learned how to make invisible ink. Now it's really a lot easier than you think. It's just milk, and we're going to get that out, and we'll do a sample one. I've already done a sample one actually. So we will look at the sample one, and I will tell you exactly how to go about it. We'll be right back. Hi, welcome back. Now, this part is the part about the invisible ink. Now, it's very fun. You do need a couple of ingredients though and some tools to work with. So you will get in your kit a list of these things that you need. But what you need are 2 cups. I would use glass because this turmeric will stain a coffee cup. You're going to need some baking soda. That will help. And you're going to need rubbing alcohol and turmeric. This is a spice. This, you may not have this at home, but if you need to buy some, I will let you to tell your mom that it's good for your heart. And things you can make with it are curry and like special chicken spices. It's kind of an earthy taste. So it's good for you. It's something good for your body. It's an antioxidant. So you can use the rest of it for other things, unless you make a whole bunch of invisible ink and use it up. Now you're also going to need these measuring spoons to measure, because this is like a very specific amount of everything. And then you're going to need some paintbrushes or Q-tips. If you don't have any paintbrushes, you can use Q-tips. I found it was a lot easier, and you get a bigger one to put when you're deciphering the message, and smaller ones for when you're writing the message. You're also going to need some cardstock. This is some pretty heavy-duty paper. This is good because these tend to get wilty when they're wet. I used this, but you can use any kind of cardstock. You're going to need a little dish towel, and you're going to need a few napkins. Okay, so we have this one piece. This piece we're going to go ahead and write a secret message on. It may dry in time, it may not. So let's go ahead and make the ink part. So we're going to use this little cup. And we're going to move all this stuff out of the way. These are some secret messages that I have already written. We'll get to those. Now, what we need to measure is, we need some water. I'll be right back. Okay, we're back. So I've got some water. I'm going to put it right in here. Okay, now that was 1 tablespoon. Don't worry, this will be written down in your kit, and it will also be underneath the video in case you didn't get a kit. So that was 1 tablespoon of water. Okay, and then this is the tricky part, because you want to get in here real carefully and get 1 tablespoon of baking soda. Just kind of level it out there like that. We won't need that anymore. And so we go ahead and just kind of sprinkle that in there. All right, so put that over here. Now I'm going to take my smallest brush, and I'm going to mix this up. This is going to be kind of thick. That's okay. You want it to be thick, but you want to mix it up as good as you can, because you don't want it to be too powdery. When you write your message, you're going to see that a little powder sticks off of the paper, and you're going to need to wipe that away. So we're stirring it up real good. And we are going to try to write a message. That's why I got this small paintbrush, so hopefully it will dry by the time we finish with our other things. So let's see. Let's just write really small. And if we don't make it too thick, it might dry in time. that we can do this one too. So you see how it's a little thick? See that coming down there? It's a little thick. Just keep stirring it while you make your message. You can use a big brush. You can use toothpicks. You can use Q-tips if you don't have brushes. Now this is really, really small and light, so it may dry in time. So we're done with that part. That's your ink. That's what you're going to write your message in. That is 1 tablespoon of water and 1 tablespoon of baking soda. Okay, let's put that aside. Now, we're going to put this aside too and see if it will dry. Let's put this here. Now, these are some messages that I wrote earlier, and they're pretty dry. So these are what we're going to decipher. And this is why we need some napkins, because this is a messy, messy job. So you want to do this in the kitchen, and you may need some help, and that's okay. It's okay if you need some help. So now we're going to get on to our the part that shows up the ink. Okay, so we'll shake this up a little bit. This is rubbing alcohol, isopropyl alcohol. So we are going to need 3 tablespoons of this. We're going to be very careful, and this is why you need to do it in the kitchen, because you want to do it over the sink. And I'm going to use this little rag just to make sure we don't spill everywhere. So this is your tablespoon, pretty big. So you're going to need 3 of those. 1 and 2 and 3. Okay. So now we have this little napkin. It just won't work. This is some really strong stuff. It smells kind of funny, but that's okay. You might have had to use this before if you scraped your knee or something. So we'll put this to the side. Always close that up, because it will spill, or it can also, it will evaporate, and then you won't have any left. Now, what you're going to need next is 1/2 teaspoon of turmeric. Now this is a very bright color, and you know it's going to change color when we show our ink. Can you guess what color it may turn? Your baking soda? You may think yellow, but you might be surprised. I'll let you wait and see. Now, while I have this spoon, I'm going to stir it with the spoon a little bit, this little tablespoon. And you see how it's already turning this glass even a little yellow? That's why you want to use a glass, not a coffee cup, because it will stain that. Some a strong spice. So we'll wipe this off, and we'll put this aside. We don't need to measure anything else. So we'll move this and move this. Now I like this big brush to let my messages show up. So I'm going to try to put this out here a little closer to you. See if I can tell what I wrote on this one. This one, turn it this way, and keep it stirred up as you are ready. Now, let's just see what color it turned. It did turn a little yellow, but your message turns red. You want to make sure that your secret message is really dry. And you're also, yeah, see it just showing up? This is the recipe for your developing of the ink. 3 tablespoons of alcohol and 1/2 teaspoons. See that? Teaspoons, T-S-P. Tablespoons, teaspoons. You'll have to look at your little measuring spoons and match that up. If you need help from an adult, that's okay. Now, what do you think this says? You probably know. This is your recipe. That's how you spell turmeric. That is your recipe to let your ink show up. Now, it's kind of heavy duty wet. So that's why we're using thicker paper. So that was fun. Now, if you see, it comes out underneath too. So what we're gonna do, and what you should do, is make sure you do this on a kitchen countertop or on top of a little rag. So let's see what this other one says. It's so fun. I wish you could be here. I will let you do it. Now, this, see how it's showing right up? You don't need a lot, but sometimes it's hard. It makes you want to get a lot because it's on the paintbrush. What do you think that says? Read a book. There we go. Now, that worked out pretty well. Now this is our one that we wrote. And it looks like it's fairly dry. But I want to give you some helpful hints about that, because when this baking soda dries up, you're not going to be able to see this. But when this baking soda dries up, it is going to want to fall up off of the paper. You want to just kind of go over it a little bit with a napkin. And then we will put it onto this napkin, just kind of brush it off. If you don't do that, you're going to end up with little dots of baking soda all over your secret message. So you want to try to get that off. So let's see if ours will work already. If you make it really, really light, it will work pretty fast. But if it's wet, it won't work. So you want to be pretty light-handed when you make your message, so that you don't have to wait too long. Now, if you're sending this to someone, you want to let it dry before you put it in an envelope or anything like that. Ink is fun. Now, this is a very fun way to let your message be seen. Now this, I had to do some research because in the book that we saw with the parachute experiment too, that called for milk and a heat source. So there are lots of different ways you can do the ink, but this I thought was the most fun, and you didn't have to use a very hot heat source to do it. So anyway, this is something that Leonardo da Vinci came up with first, and people have expanded upon and now can do it this way. This is the brightest and most fun way to do it that I found. So I thank you guys for coming. I hope you'll come in to the Hanover Branch and get your kits And if you want to come in other times, please do. We want you to come and get some books. We also will have a few Leonardo da Vinci books if you would like to learn about him. Thank you for coming. Bye.